Give out a portion of it, but not all of it, so that it goes right back into it and grows. And this is the power of setting up an inheritance the right way.
Welcome back to Christian Financial Perspectives. My name is Shawn Peters. This is Bob Barber, and today we're going to be covering the dangers of a large inheritance, which, when you say it out loud, it kind of almost seems weird. Like, what do you mean? How is a large inheritance dangerous?
That's right.
But
Scripture
does talk about it
for that,
sure.
right?
Yes. Proverbs 20, verse 21, an inheritance claimed too soon will not be blessed in the end.
You know, Shawn, there's an old saying, shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves in 3 generations.
Okay.
Now, what does that mean? Well, generation 1 makes wealth. Okay. They create
Generation
wealth.
1 creates wealth. Okay.
Generation 2, they don't use it all, but they use a lot of it. But the time the wealth gets from generation 1 to 2 into the third generation squanders it all. And that's what we mean by shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves in 3 generations. And this has been going on for hundreds of years. And it even happened in my own family because my great-grandfather created a lot of wealth, owned thousands of acres, a big rancher. And then it went to my grandfather. And then my dad was not very good with finances. I mean, I love my dad. He was a great godly man, but he was terrible with finances and spent it all. Yeah. And then it starts over with me again.
So you've seen this play out in many families and even in your own
in my own family. Right. Exactly.
Your parents and grandparents.
You haven't seen it play out, but your dad has done an incredibly good job.
Yeah. I would definitely say my dad would have to be in generation 1 in this.
So he's created, and you're the second generation, and then your children. You need to be very careful. Your dad needs to be very careful, just like I do, about how we pass off and give the inheritance to the following generations. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Okay. And
so what you're saying, though, is that this scenario doesn't have to play out.
It doesn't have to. And if you study successful families over the generations, you'll find them. One right here in Texas is the King family. Yeah. The King Ranch. Yeah. You know, it's one of the largest ranches,
I feel like most people probably heard of that, especially if you've anyone watching or listening, King Ranch Edition. Yeah. You know, with
the King Ranch Edition Ford truck. Yeah. Yep.
And now they've got the King Ranch Edition for just about all the models. You know, you get the Explorer, you can get the Expedition, the truck, everything.
And, you think about like the Rockefellers too, and families like that have passed generations down for, wealth for multiple generations. And it stayed is they understand the concept of what I call the golden goose. Yeah. The goose is laying the golden eggs. Right. The problem with inheritances is that when you just divide it up.
So once the second spouse passes away, you divide it up amongst all the heirs.
And what you've done is you've taken the golden goose and just chopped it up. Yeah. Yeah. And when you think about compounding, we have talked about the Rule 72 and compounding. Yeah, it takes just as long for $10,000 to go to $20,000 as it does for $2 million to go to $4 million or $4 million to $8 million. Right. So what happens is when you start chopping the wealth up and you just start distributing it out,
you have smaller and smaller principal amounts that can actually earn.
That's exactly right. So, because what happens is that wealth creates more wealth. Yeah. And especially if all you're bringing off of the wealth is the interest, don't take the principal off. Yeah. Let the principal stay there. And even of the interest that you earn, give out a portion of it, but not all of it, so that it goes right back into it and grows. And this is the power of setting up an inheritance the right way. Yeah. I came up with basically what I feel are around 10 to 11 dangers of a large inheritance.
Okay? So some things to look out for.
Right.
Yeah. Or avoid.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, number 1, it can cause a spending frenzy. Many inheritances are spent within just 2 to 3 years of receiving.
We've seen this ourselves, haven't we?
Yep.
Yeah. We here in our firm.
We can't name any specific family names, but we have seen where there's a large inheritance come through, or some sort of mineral rights or something like that that's found, and then we see some of the family ends up buying extra houses and boats and cars and everything else you can think of, and then eventually the money starts to dwindle.
Because they didn't realize the cost behind all that.
Exactly.
And maintaining that.
But not only that, but you're pulling so much out that, well, now you spent not just the interest, but you spent a significant portion of the principal. So now each year it's earning even less. And so then people, within 2 to 3 years, they basically don't have anything left other than a whole bunch of stuff they bought that's expensive to maintain. And then you have others that don't change their lifestyle too much. And 2 to 3 years later, they have more now than they did when they started.
We're going to be careful about giving a full explanation of them. I just want you to hear them and really take them in.
Yeah.
Otherwise, this end up being an hour-long program.
Yeah.
So the second one is a large inheritance can cause speculative behaviors. It can be like investing in day trading in the markets. Or it could be a risky business venture. I've seen this a lot too.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to go start this business now with this inheritance.
Like, go start a restaurant, because those are always successful.
Yeah. Well, what does they say about 90% of them fail after 2 to 3 years?
Something like that. I don't know. It's a really high percentage. Yeah.
I'm always scared. I would be scared to start a restaurant. It's so much work involved too.
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Another one, heirs with large inheritances can become a target of fraud and abuse by others.
Yeah.
It's very similar to when people, win the lotto, and then people find out that they won the lottery, and then it's all of a sudden there's cousins and long lost friends and uncles and aunts and all kinds of people that you've never heard of that all have a sob story or all have this great business deal. And I mean, other times even like just actual crime, like people just trying to steal it.
Yeah, that's right. It can also distort the psychological power of ownership, because receiving that large inheritance can cause a sense of accomplishment that can be lost in that transfer. I didn't earn this. I didn't make this.
Yeah. But then what happens is that money, that wealth gives someone this false sense of their, that accomplishment or ownership.
Right.
And it's like, oh, I know what I'm doing. I'm not gonna make mistakes. Well, just because you have money, if
doesn't
you didn't earn it, doesn't mean that you know how to make really good decisions.
I've seen this play out where all of a sudden I'm smarter than everybody. Before I got the wealth, I wasn't, but now I am, and no one can tell me what to do. I mean, I've learned it all.
The amount of money you have does not determine how good you are with money.
Yeah. Yep.
Especially if you received it and it wasn't something you earned.
Another point is a large inheritance may not be taken seriously because it's not earned slowly over years and years, and prudent saving. We kind of said that.
Yeah.
And it can compound many irresponsible behaviors, like drug abuse. I mean, you think about how a large inheritance can buy many more drugs if somebody's abusing drugs, or just if they have overspending habits. Yeah, it's going to make the overspending that much worse. So that's why it needs to be done in a wise way.
Right. It can take away the incentive to work.
That's a big one, isn't it?
Because if you have a lot of money, like, well, why do I even need to work? I'll just take it easy.
Work appears in the Bible over 550 times, where retire appears one time, and it's not in the context of the American retirement.
Yep. We've done an episode on that.
Yeah, we have.
Another one, it can create a sense of entitlement.
And it can make someone very boastful and pretentious.
Yep. An heir may not understand how long it takes to make the wealth that they received, or that an inheritance can disappear in just a few years, no matter how large.
I think that's a big one.
That's something I have seen from the first time I worked with you for about 5 years. And then since I've come back, I've seen that multiple times myself, that it doesn't matter if it was 50 to 100,000 or $1.5 million. The amount of time it takes for someone to spend through it, if they don't know how to handle it, they haven't been equipped. Really,
they didn't realize how long it took to get there. I mean, it took mom and dad maybe 30 years, to get there. To get to that $1.5 million, and then it compounds and grows to $3 million.
I mean, how many clients, Bob, have you had that they made between 50 and 60, maybe 70,000 a year, and yet they have between $1 million and $2 million when they retire?
It's kind of
obviously
amazing.
it takes a while to build up to that on that kind of an income, but you can spend that real fast.
And then one of the last points I want to make that's very important is if your heirs are not already wealthy and have not saved for many years, they may not be ready for that large inheritance.
Yep.
I mean, I'm pretty sure they're not. Okay.
Especially as like just here's a lump sum.
We've given these points, so as we come down,
and we're gonna end there on all the negative stuff.
Right. No.
So what's the answer? What's the answer for large inheritance?
Number one, I think is set up the inheritance using a trust or a limited partnership, like a family limited partnership, and distribute it wisely and slowly, just like you earned it.
Well, Bob,
like you made it.
So how does someone do that though if they've passed away and it's gone into this? It's within the
you
trust.
have to do this before you pass away.
Right. So it's set up, the instructions that have to be carried out are in the trust and limited partnership, right?
That's right.
And then you have like an administrator that makes sure that those rules and criteria are followed.
And we'll speak about that later. Number one, this is so important to emphasize too. Keep your wealth together. Don't take the golden goose and cut it up.
Which is why you needed number one.
We spoke about that at the beginning of the program. I mean, wealthy families are wealthy years later because they never took the goose and cut it up and distributed the wealth. They kept it together, and then they gave out the earnings from the wealth to the heirs. Okay,
part of the earnings.
Yeah, part of
not all of it.
Not all of it.
Another one: have family financial meetings with your heirs before your death.
You know, I have that great book that was put out by the National Christian Foundation called Family. It's family.money. And I would emphasize that everybody use that book. If you want to, you can give us a call and we'll make sure and get one of those books, or we can send it to you in a PDF as well. But it lays out how to have a family meeting. This is so important that your heirs know how the wealth was earned.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And have the conversations about what's important too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Equip your heirs with sound financial principles and planning.
Yep. And teaching good money habits.
That takes a long time. They need to have an excellent understanding of the wealth, how it was made, the story behind it.
Yeah.
And I think this is a big one. This next one's very big. Is have what we call pre-inheritance experiences. Mm-hmm. All right. Use the scripture. The scripture behind this, and we've talked about this scripture many times here, is Matthew 25:14-30. Talks about the parable of the talents.
That's right.
You know, where he gave 1, 3, and 5. Then he came back and said, "What'd you do with it?"
Right.
I think another good scripture that goes with this is Luke 16:10. Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much.
So the idea here, Bob, is you're saying, so with your heirs, give them something now.
Right.
Obviously, don't tell them that this is the pre-inheritance experience test you're putting them through, but give them, like, I think, what is it, $10,000 a year or whatever the number is now?
Well, it's like up to 14 or 15 now.
Right.
But
so there's a certain amount you can give without causing like a tax situation for whoever you're giving it to. But give them that money and see what they do with it. Do they reinvest it? Do they handle it wisely? Do they go spend it on much stuff they don't need? Because that'll give you a really good idea of whether or not they're actually ready, if they can handle it. And number 7.
And number 7 is a really good one. Give it out slowly, like you made it. Yeah. And match savings, like they would do in a 401k. Maybe match the savings for your heirs. And everything
like,
needs
I guess it depends on how much you have and your heirs have. But like, let's say, you've done a lot better than they have so far. Maybe you have like a 1 to 2 or 1 to 4, where for every dollar that they've put away into a retirement-specific account, whether it's their own 401k or an IRA, something like that, that you basically match from their inheritance, that when you pass away, that's something they have access to.
And all this can be put in a trust. Yep. And you know what? I've put it all in my personal trust. Shawn has seen it. We've gone over it. I have all of this laid out. And your children and your heirs got to understand how money works. The first thing that they've got to inherit is wisdom. If they don't have wisdom, they're not going to be able to handle this.
I think of it as like a toolbox, Bob.
Yeah.
If you give your heirs this really nice toolbox with all the tools they could possibly want, but they don't know how to use them, chances are they're just going to break something.
Shawn, why don't you read that scripture I have for us there in relation to this?
Yeah, Proverbs 17:16. Of what use is money in the hand of a fool? since he has no intention of acquiring wisdom.
Yeah. Boil down these last thoughts. Ensure your children and grandchildren are taught how to use good money management habits, saving, investing habits.
Yep. I mean, you worked for wealth, saved for it, took possible chances to get it, and sacrificed, so you respected the wealth. Shouldn't your heirs learn to do the same?
One of the things that we're doing too with our trust is we're going to assign a corporate trustee after Rachel and I pass, not a family member, because a corporate trustee has a fiduciary duty and legal obligation to carry out the rules of the trust.
Yep.
If a family member is a trustee, they could be guilted by another family member into bending the trust rules.
Guilted, persuaded. Yeah, exactly.
The trustee's not going to do that.
Yep.
So
which is good.
Just remember, wealth in the hands of a fool compounds foolishness.
Yeah.
But wealth in the hands of the wise compounds wisdom. So if you want to learn more how to set up a large inheritance for success for the following generations,
you can call or text our office at 830-609-6986. Schedule a phone, online, or in-person meeting with us. You can also contact us through the website at christianfinancialadvisors.com. As always, thank you so much for joining us, and God bless. Thank you for watching. If you want to see more videos just like this, make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, and like this video. If you have questions, you can visit our website, call, text us, or comment below. See you next time.